if you don't want Kyle Shanahan to utilize what he thinks is the best running back in football as much as possible, and he needs to split time with Mason, I think then it's fair you need another coach. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Kevin Burkhardt, Fox Sports. One of Josh Jacobs' 3 touchdowns. 49ers, they get beat pretty bad. 38-10. Go ahead, Goo.
I lost. I'm out.
Goo,
I hate that drop.
Let me just...
I didn't lose. I missed it.
We haven't spoken yet about the game. We purposely didn't give our thoughts to each other before the game. So, this morning. Go ahead, Goo.
All right, so I'm not going to come in here, and I don't have the power, but I do have a show with you and Evan for 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week, and I'm not going to come in here and be blinded to the fact that Kyle Shanahan has not built something here during his tenure. He's built a bully, right? So much so that they played the 2 Super Bowls, 4 straight trips to the NFC Championship game, but now, partner, with injuries – and the fact that they weren't able to cash in, I was the one guy that kind of saw the meteor, the asteroid before everybody else, and I kept saying, tomorrow's not promised. You know, it could just be attrition. It's not just automatic you're going to get back. And I feel like that's what this season is now with injuries. I'm not mad at Brandon Allen's performance yesterday. Steiny, I think the game was lost in so many places, but my biggest takeaway, you're going to laugh, and I've been kind of consistent with this, is, okay, Kyle Shanahan, this is where I call you up front. How the hell can you not get Jordan Mate? I'll forget Garendo. How can you not find a way to get him more involved? And moving forward, Steiny, with what I'm seeing from McCaffrey, I would split the carries. That's where I'm at. I'm not coming down McCaffrey's road, but also, too, the defensive coordinator, I don't know what's going on, Steiny. I don't know if the players have quit on themselves or they quit on him. But those penalties, 2 back-to-back 12 men in the huddle, that didn't look like the Niner team, I'm accustomed to. And even then, in the second half, it was still a game. But they couldn't do anything and get out their own way. And Deebo Samuel, wherever you're at listening, because I know you got a head start, I would return that C back to my coaching staff, because you, again, were a no-show. Let a ball go right through your hands. There was an interception on Allen's ledger, and after the game, you have the audacity to dip and say you don't want to talk. That's what hurt me most if I'm a Niner fan about yesterday, Steiny.
Yeah, I think if I were a Niner fan, what would bother me most is just the way they played so sloppily. I mean, they couldn't get out of their own way. There were penalties galore. If I have a question, it would be...
Give it to me.
Well, can you really play a backup quarterback who's got a broken finger on his left hand?
What was that? And
he fumbles twice and throws a pick. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You know what's funny is everybody's talking about the injuries. Oh, the injuries, this, that, and the other. Let me approach it from a different standpoint. You ready?
Yeah.
Let me run down a list of guys who've been healthy. You ready?
All right. Wow. Okay.
Brock Purdy has missed 1 game this year. George Kittle, 9 of 11. Juwan Jennings has played 9 of 11. Juszczyk has been healthy the whole season. Bosa missed 1 game so far this year. Warner, he's been healthy for all 11. Lenore, McKivitz, Pooney, Brendel, they've played every game this year. Trent Williams played every game but 1 this year. Malik Collins, Burford, they've been healthy. Deebo Samuel, he's been healthy. There are enough names on that list of players who've been healthy for this team to be better than 5-6.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. The injuries have not helped, but injuries happen to every team, and it's a matter of how you deal with them. And I don't think there's any doubt that a guy here and a guy there being out has absolutely flummoxed Kyle Shanahan in terms of how to play when you're down a player or two. I mean, yesterday was a little bit different, but look, let's not get it mixed up. The San Francisco 49ers, that game yesterday was very similar to about every game they've played this year. They're 5-6. They're still looking to play a complete game. They might even be looking to play their first complete half. They have not played well. They haven't shown any inclination that this thing's going to be turned around. And now there's only one thing to do, and that's you keep playing, you try, but it seems like at this point they need to do one thing, and that's catch lightning in a bottle, and there's never a guarantee that that's going to happen.
Wow. Steiny, I'm not mad at you, and I appreciate the homework. And the bottom line is this was the third game in the last four that a Kyle Shanahan coach team, get this, Steiny, had more than 9 penalties. So, okay, I know you're coming in and you're hampered. You don't have the top-tier talent at certain positions, but what about the mindset? What about the next man up? And Josh Jacobs took their soul from the outset. They could not stop him. And, Steiny, you're looking at the game and the final score, and it didn't even feel that close. And, you know, I was listening to the guys this morning, and it's all psychology, what type of fan you are. But the crazy thing about where the Niners are in this season with, 7 games left, 6 games left, they're 1 game out of first place for the division. But I'm wondering, and I'm hearing the calls to the roast this morning, Steiny, and I'm online last night, depending on who you are and how you think and you're wired, do you even want this version of the Niners in the playoffs or to win a division? And you know I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm Malcolm X, by any means necessary, but I just didn't recognize this team yesterday just from the tactical standpoint. Steiny, what's up with all the penalties? 12 men in the backfield, 12 men on defense back-to-back. And I know Kyle said, well, one time they tricked us, the league needs to – but, dude, you guys weren't singing that song when you were going to 4 straight NFC championship games. I just don't know if you start thinking about shutting down guys that are out that are your future, if it's that dire or you feel like you can't win. That's the million-dollar question, because you and I could talk about it all day. What do they feel?
You can't shut anything down because they have too many veteran players who you have to give them the last crack at it, I think. And you know what I don't subscribe to? Shutting people down this year so that Trent Williams will be fresh next year and McCaffrey will be fresh next year. I don't buy that one iota. There's only one thing this team can try to do, and that's beat Buffalo next week and get to 6-6 and see then where the chips fall. But I'm not for resting guys at this point because you're too far into the season. But I don't think there's any 49er fan out there that now believes this thing's definitely going to be turned around. I get the hope.
Look at the schedule.
I get the hope. I get the notion that one win can start a winning streak, but boy, this reminds me of a little bit like the Warriors last year, where they teased you a little bit and they won 46 games, but they didn't make the playoffs. And when it was all said and done, they just didn't play well enough to make the playoffs. And it just feels like that's where this season is headed for the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah. But this is what we do on a Monday. We open it up to 49er fans.
Overreaction Monday.
We talk about where this team is going and what happened yesterday. And I don't know, is it possible to have an overreaction to this loss yesterday today? I mean, if you say this team's done, I don't think that's an overreaction anymore. I really don't. They're 5-6.
But just think about the Deebo run in the second half, 87 yards negated, Steiny. If that, I know woulda, coulda, shoulda, but there's just when did they start becoming a team infested with penalties?
Kevin Burkhardt, Fox Sports. That was the first touchdown of the game by the Green Bay Packers. Put them up 7-0 after about a 7-minute drive to open the game, and the 49ers went on to get beat 38-10. And just a couple of things, and you mentioned one. If they don't hold on the kickoff return to start the second half, that game may change. The 2-6-2, if Deebo catches that ball yesterday. But that's been the story of the season. If. There have been so many plays throughout the year where had the 49ers made them, maybe things would be different.
Right.
But they haven't made any plays all year. They really haven't.
Yeah. Now they're
five
mistakes.
now they're 5-6. And Goo, remember last week we threw out the question, what's going on with the Niners? And I said, if somebody were to ask me what's going on with the Niners, they're just not together. And yesterday was their 11th game of the year, and once again, they just were the opposite of whatever cohesive is. They just can't put together a full game for whatever reason.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it, partners, we do not know why. But what I do know is the Packers ran for 167 yards. Steiny, 87 of those in the first quarter. The Niners had 10 missed tackles in the first quarter. So I'm not trying to go Skip Bayless or stir something up, but when you guys have the season right in front of you, you're 5-5 is a defense led by Fred Warner. Where does the 10 tackles signal to you? 10 missed tackles. Steiny, I go back to the Minnesota game. Mooney Ward, God bless his soul, taking care of his family. But he talked about how he was being used and he didn't like it. That's what I got from it. So when I come to you, are you just, I'm asking, gonna say it was cold weather, so 10 missed tackles is okay? Because now this team is playing out of character and is starting to play like a team that is not listening to their coach or could give a damn.
Well, that's where I disagree. When you say now this team's playing out of character, I think they've played out of character all season. All season long. And here's the way I look at it, is yesterday's game was atrocious. And yes, yesterday's game, they played without Purdy. They played without Bosa. They played without Trent Williams.
Every team has a story.
And they absolutely got blown out. And so, yeah, you can say, well, we were missing a ton of guys yesterday. But what about the first 10 games when you were 5-5? See, that's the problem. If this thing starts to really go downhill, and some people would say it already has, if you want to blame injuries, I think that's very, very dangerous. Because if you told me right now they could bring back the same team and everybody's healthy, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
But what
I don't think this team has it anymore.
But
they
what
haven't
are your
proven
options, though, Steiny? And I know Purdy's one of them, but
to start to retool. But that's what the options are.
But how long is that going to take?
I don't care how long it takes. Well, what is it scarier than the way they're playing right now?
Well, if they're not playing up to par, which we don't know why they're underperforming, but you're right, 44 yards on the ground with Christian McCaffrey. So this is the third game since they've gotten McCaffrey back that they haven't been able to run the ball. Steiny, I'm being real. I'm asking you, is that a McCaffrey problem? Yeah. Is that an offensive line problem? Because if it's a McCaffrey problem, you're really in trouble.
Of course.
Because that's what you become. Now Deebo's become a zero. Like, what is going on? And again, all I'm asking, partner, is why. And if you think this is a quick fix, this is not a quick fix.
They're old. They're too old right now. McCaffrey's not McCaffrey. Deebo's not Deebo. You want to blame that on Kyle?
Trent Williams is not Trent Williams. No. But is that age?
Yes. Yes.
Steiny, this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Maybe. That sometimes is what happens when you're at the end of a run.
And again, I'm no coach, but I'm a human. And I played sports and I've watched it. How can one quarterback beat out another quarterback with a broken digit on the non-throwing hand? Like, make that make sense, Steiny. I'm not just, how could Brandon Allen with a broken digit still beat out Dobbs? And Brandon Allen had thrown an NFL pass since 2022. Our man Dobbsy, again, Steiny, just thoughts I had, he's quarterbacked and started in this league since then. That was odd to me.
Dobbsy. Yeah.
A broken digit. Like, and I'm putting that at the doorstep of Kyle.
Well, wouldn't I just tell you that? I mean, like, this is where I don't really feel like I have to ask the question. He thinks Brandon Allen with a broken finger on his left hand is better than Josh Dobbs.
And that's what I'm saying.
There it is. I mean, plain and simple.
He's also the guy that says he can't devise a game plan with Mason and McCaffrey. And now he's telling on himself. That's the only thing I would tell Kyle. You're doing wrong, bud. Listen to the guys doing the game yesterday. They're perplexed that you, the smart Jedi, can't. Come on. And then when he gets in the game, he runs for 16 yards. Mason.
I mean,
Steiny, I know it's small, but it's big.
I know. I'm not saying you're wrong on that. But they didn't lose that game yesterday because they didn't split carries between McCaffrey and Mason. It's much bigger than that.
You're right.
It's so much
maybe you have more than 10 points, Steiny.
But what about then that's one thing. Then what about the 9 penalties at critical situations? What about the fact that the defense cannot get off the field?
Hey, I got you.
If it's not one thing or it's another, it's not one thing, it's another.
But 4th and 2, I got a backup quarterback in the conditions, but I got a raging bull who I don't use. I would have handed that thing off and tried to get 2 yards on the ground. I'm going to trust the conditions and have a guy that hadn't played since 2022 throw a little out route. Like, that's nasty work to me. Again, Monday morning quarterback, but as much as I respect Kyle, I am really perplexed that he can't, Steiny, draw it up and have Mason, but Garindo's a kick returner now, fumbled, lucky to get it back. But Steiny, those are the questions that have me shocked.
Yeah, I'm not shocked at all. And why would you be shocked? We said all offseason during training camp that this team was off. It's been off. There hasn't been anything good that's happened to this team in 6 months. Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and Brandon Ayuk, to my way of thinking, set the tone for the year. And it was an awful tone to be set. And the 49ers organization was an accomplice because they apparently thought they could push the Ayuk negotiation and the Trent Williams negotiation all the way to the end of training camp and think they could get away with it. And they didn't. And they started out slow, and now some of those guys are starting to wear down. I mean, to me, you can get on Shanahan all you want, and he deserves a lot of criticism, but the veterans have not come to play this year. Plain and simple. They're other than George Kittle, who has had a good year. Maybe I'll give you Jennings. But here's the other thing.
I'm saying
now
Mason.
We're starting to be honest.
Yeah.
What's happened to Fred Warner?
No doubt.
There we go. It's just when the big boys don't play, you're in trouble. And
when
I say
they
don't play,
you still lose.
I don't mean don't play like they're hurt.
Oh, okay.
When they haven't played well.
No, you're right.
Okay, it is.
But
there it is.
Coming into yesterday, and again, Steiny, I didn't expect him to win the game, but I did expect him to compete. Coming into yesterday, Steiny, I don't have to tell you, it's a marathon, not a sprint. They were right there. And again, Fred.
When were they right there?
No, going into the game in regard to the division, trying to win the division.
Well, they're still right there.
Do you want to put the right on the table? They were down 14 points. That game, Green Bay, I know you're going to come at me. They didn't impress me. Like, that wasn't their A game. And a couple interceptions, if you hang on to the ball, I know that's why you play defense. Brown had a chance. This thing is spiraling out of control. But everybody, and I'm with you, that you just mentioned, you got to put Kyle in there. Because a guy that calls and controls who's on the field, Steiny, and all of a sudden now you want me, after watching Ricky Pearsall run against Dallas and run against Tampa Bay, I'm supposed to sit here and think he's no good? You can't find a way to get him a ball? Like, he's too young for me to say he fell off or something changed. This is the chef in the kitchen, and it's not Steph Curry. It's Kyle. He's in that line.
Here's another bad game. Another bad game. Okay, well, we keep criticizing Shanahan. Do something about it. If you really think he's the problem. I don't necessarily think he's been great at all.
It's just hard-headed, stubborn.
Yeah, I think the team is juiced the wrong way.
Have they tuned somebody out?
No,
how do you know that, though? Think about it. How do you know?
How do they look?
like a team that's not listening to their coach. Get 9 penalties and 11 missed tackles in one quarter. That's how they look. I'm asking you, that means nothing. If your kids act up and they're under 18, that's on the parents.
Okay, well then do something about it. What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do? You want to fire him?
I can't do anything now. We got 6 games left.
Well, no, you can. You can rip them for 6 more weeks.
And I got slow down.
Which it sounds like what's going to happen. They're not a good team.
But you can.
They aged out in front of our eyes.
Mason, Steiny, people are. It's not just me clamoring.
They were
for Mason.
4-4 with Mason. They were 500 with Mason. Without Mason.
I get that. Okay. But you do understand it's odd now when you got guys that are rendered ineffective or not on their A game as to why can't we see more of a guy that when he gets on the field, we see burst, we see pop. Why is that off? What's going on? Use that more. I think that's fair. But the penalties, Steiny, the 3 turnovers, I think that's on coaching. The missed tackles.
Okay, so do something. Like, I'm sick and tired of everybody complaining about the coaching staff.
We're in season.
Well, then make a move at the end of the year. If you think, has he lost the team?
I have those questions.
Okay.
I'm talking about the defensive coordinator, too. I'm not just talking about Kyle. Yeah. I'm talking about Sorensen.
Right. So, you can say Sorensen, you can say Shanahan, and I'll say Purdy, regression. I'll say Ayuk stunk when he got here. Trent Williams, he's been bad. Bosa, he's been okay. Okay, so if you want to blame the fact that all their veteran players have fallen off on Kyle, well then don't bring Kyle back and bring back all the veteran players, and I bet you that you won't see much of a difference.
Well, see, I'm not.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I can be passionate and smart at the same time, Steiny. I'm not. I just have questions.
Let's start off with Carlos. Carlos is in Oakland. What's going on, Carlos?
Oh man, quick question for you.
Yeah.
Would it have been wrong for Moody and the field goal kicking unit to go after Deebo yesterday?
No, it wouldn't have. I wish it would have happened, man. I'm really down on him, man.
You mean after he dropped the ball that led to an interception?
And I'm going to question that C on his chest.
Man.
That was all I had to say.
That's real. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry. I don't blame. I'm not blaming Kyle Shanahan for the fact that Deebo Samuel has had a horse bleep year. Yeah. And you know what? That pass that he quote unquote dropped, and it was, he could have caught it. He doesn't catch those though. Like, that's not how he catches the ball.
Yeah.
So let's go to Billy Bones in the city. What's up, Billy Bones? How you doing, man?
Hey, okay. I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question. Did Shanahan's father, was he the offensive coordinator too, as well as the head coach?
I think so, yeah.
He was?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth.
Okay, but I think that is the issue. We need an OC, or Shanahan needs to just say, I'm going to be the OC, because he apparently can't do both.
Wow, man.
I'm telling you. Because, look, you guys even said it. You was like, why is Dobbs? That's what I said. Why is Dobbs not playing at quarterback? Because put Dobbs in there, he's going to make something happen. He's a football player. And then you send him in with another guy in with a broken digit? Come on.
Man.
Yeah.
No, appreciate it.
Gary Kubiak, I guess, was the offensive coordinator under Mike Shanahan.
Well, he was just basically going, Steiny, do you think he's overwhelmed? Kyle. But no, and I got to keep it real.
Nobody said that the first 7 years.
I was calling him a genius. And that's why, Steiny, I'm not offended. I am perplexed that he can't get what we deem some game makers into the game. I am perplexed. And Allen was not bad. He wasn't perfect yesterday. But how is he more attractive than Dobbs, who has more recent starts in the NFL, has some escapability? And then real quick, Steiny, whose job is it to get the quarterback with the right cleats? I mean, what are we doing? Couple times he's dropping back like you didn't know you were playing in the front. Come on. Like, that's just not on that's on the whole thing. What are you? Wake up.
I mean, this is where I think there's two things. You weren't winning that game yesterday. You weren't going to win that game yesterday with a backup quarterback, a backup left tackle, a backup defensive end. The problem is
shot
that
yourself in the foot a bunch of times, partner.
They lost by 28 points.
No.
Let's put the rattle. And the guy dropped a touchdown pass.
Yeah, that happened.
So, miss me with a play or two in that game's different.
Right.
The issue is that had you come into that game 6-4 or 7-3 like you feel like you should have, that loss wouldn't mean anything yesterday because we'd be saying, look, we're 7-3 and now we suffered some injuries and we're missing some guys. What did we expect is going to happen? The problem is what we saw yesterday was exactly the same thing we've seen for the first 10 games. Regardless of who's been playing and who hasn't been playing, this team has underachieved all season long. They just have.
And now they can't run the ball.
If you want to start scapegoating, let's go. Let's start scapegoating.
Yeah.
I put most of it on the players. That's me.
Hold on, Steiny. I'm with you in that same line, but I'm not saying you're not thinking this.
I mean, go ahead and rip Shanahan, but what are you going to do about it?
Coaches fired. You know that, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right.
Sure. Let's go to Randy in San Lorenzo. What's up, Randy? How you doing?
Not much. Love you both. Hey, so my thing is I believe that most of the players don't respect Shanahan anymore, okay? They don't like his play calling, and I really believe that it goes back to this past Super Bowl, and I didn't like it when they fired Wilkes, so I believe that that's coming back to haunt them, and I would really love to see them sign Daniel Jones, okay? They need a legitimate backup quarterback, and I believe that Daniel Jones would be a great fit, and I see the Detroit Lions putting up a 50 against the Niners.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Appreciate the call.
Well, Green Bay could have. But Daniel Jones is no answer to any question, partner.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Brock Purdy's out for the rest of the year, is he better than the two guys that are going to play? Maybe Brandon Allen and Josh Dobbs? I don't know.
What did you see from Allen yesterday? Like, Steiny, he wasn't bad.
Saw a backup quarterback. That's exactly what I saw. Did some nice things, but he fumbled twice.
Yeah.
Fumbled twice. Threw a pick. There's the other thing.
Dropped that.
Well, you know what?
Hit him in the hands,
you know what?
Deebo.
That's what he gets because he should have been picked off earlier in the game. A Packer defensive back. He threw it right to him.
I remember that one.
So,
but to leave out of there, this is bigger than just the score. To have your captain leave out of there not talking, but 2 weeks ago you're grabbing cats' necks for accountability. That stinks, and that's hypocritical. I don't like guys and gals like that. Oh, you can go chastise somebody and embarrass them on national TV, but then you skate when you leave after one of the greatest receivers called you out and said you're focused on the wrong stuff, and then you miss a pass hitting you right in your frying pan for an interception, and you can't even be stand up and talk? That's weak.
Let's go to Javier in Vacaville. What's up, Javi? How you doing?
Javi.
How you doing, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah.
And, listen to the early morning show, and they, I don't call that show, but they said that I wasn't impressed by the Packers. The Packers had 20 broken tackles. The Packers ran all down our throat, pause. But the difference between the Niners and the Packers is the coaching staff, like you see, LaFleur fired his defensive coordinator last year, and it's all business. Shanahan is losing this team not based on his love or lack thereof for the team and vice versa. It's his loyalty. He shouldn't be loyal to Nick Sorensen. Nick Sorensen has shown he's not ready, and that's okay. John Snyder, the defensive or the special teams coordinator, 15-year special teams coordinator, he ain't got it no more. They had over 108 yards in penalties, and we're saying we're sniffing our nose up to the sky saying, Daniel Jones would be a asset pick of the last 3 to 5 years. Look what Sam Darnold has become in Minnesota. He was not wanted by anybody. I'm not saying they couldn't be all be all, but this team is checked out. This isn't the quest for six here anymore. Because of this enablement of the players, this has become in San Francisco the quest for checks. Trent Williams, a joke. Deebo Samuel, a joke. Nick Bosa, a joke. And not on their talent, they're in here trying to get paid because it isn't about the 40 hours. It's about, hey, I want more money. And if I don't get that money, I'm just going to sit on my ass. Well, you know what? Take you and your ass up out of here because the Niners are showing that they've lost control of the goal. The goal isn't to win championships. Them players have become homies with Kyle Shanahan. And that may or may not have been lost respect because now they look at each other as mutuals and he's not the superior. But, yo, there got to be a foot in somebody's ass, dog. Somebody got to go.
Appreciate the call. Who?
Yeah, but see, that's
who goes?
Steiny, and I'm up
now
on
it gets
my
tougher,
soapbox.
doesn't it? Now it gets tougher. Who goes?
Kyle's
What's the problem? What do you do?
He's earned this, right? He's earned the right to come back from this.
I don't know.
I'm on his neck just because I'm shocked about how you can't scheme it up with all your talent and why it's got to be one or the other. But, I mean, come on, man. We all have to keep it real. He's earned whatever this is going on right now, and he's part of it.
What I think has been earned more than anything else is a 5-6 record. That's what's been earned by the San Francisco 49ers.
The missed tackles from the outstart. When do you see a Niner defense not bring it?
I don't know. All season. I mean, all year. Seriously. Yeah. Seriously.
And I saw
there's been no bright spots. None.
George Kittle.
Oh, great. I mean, great. He's been great.
I got
terrific. But I'm talking about 11 games. They haven't played a good stretch of football.
No, they have not.
They haven't. No. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching.
Steiny, I like to fell out my bed last night. They had an old clip. It might have been last week or this week.
Well, that makes sense. It's an old clip.
Sorensen talked about the missed tackles like there's, again, he knows more football than me. There's a thing called good missed tackles, Steiny. The way that they play defense and are so aggressive in attack. He was up there basically saying you would have to look at the missed tackle and I could diagnose it and tell you if it was a good missed tackle and why. I'm like, please.
When I see 10 missed tackles, I give credit. Gosh. I give a lot of credit to the running back.
Well, Jacobs was
on the other side. Plain and simple.
Steiny, they couldn't stop him.
I know. What's like?
Wow.
If it's like how many times do we have to see this team play like this and pretend like it's not who they are? It's who they are.
No, you're not, Deebo.
All right, that was Brandon Allen's interception. They were down 17-7. Defense actually did a nice job in the third quarter against the Packers, but the 49ers offense couldn't take advantage of it. What's Kyle Shanahan thinking after this one?
They had 12 personnel, 2 tight ends in the huddle, which means we have base defense out. They sent another receiver on the field to sub, which when they sub, they're supposed to allow us to sub. So as soon as they did that, we started to change our personnel, and then they rushed up to the line and snapped it. It was a strategic play by them, but one that I don't feel should have been allowed. They didn't give us time to sub on that, and that's why I was upset on that. And then the next one, because they got away with the first one, they tried to do it again the next play, and that's when I went out there arguing again. This time they did allow us to sub. I was out there screaming the whole time, so I'm not exactly aware of what happened with our 12 guys, but obviously we had 12 guys out there. They gave us time to sub, and we didn't get one off. So the second one was on us.
All right. That's what happens to teams that are finding ways to lose. Things go against them. You know what the 49ers' point differential this year is through 11 games?
Give it to them.
0. They've scored 260 points, and they've given up 260 points.
And they're 5. I was going to say that's a 500, but they're 5-6 with the Sunday night game in Orchard. Man, I'll tell you what, though. You didn't ask, but my guy Cole Dixon from Texas everybody's talking about what they're not seeing from McCaffrey. I'm not sitting here telling you, Steiny, he looks the same to me, but there's no room for him to run at all. The tosses up the middle, there's just traffic everywhere. But the amount of vitriol that I feel he's getting because they feel like he's not the same, I'm not seeing it that way, and yet I'm the dude lobbying for getting more Jordan Mason. Getting more Jordan Mason doesn't mean McCaffrey's not doing something. It's just like Mason's proven, use both. And I'm going to blow your wig off with this one. Yeah. Option A, moving forward for the rest of the season for me, would be George Kittle. He had 6 targets, Steiny. It would be 12 targets. I would use him like the Patriots use Gronk. You can mum all. I'm just telling you how I see it. He is your best player right now. Give him more. How I see it.
Sure, give him more. And I'm not saying you're wrong. But I'm also, I always think it's interesting when, you want to call Christian McCaffrey the best back in football? Well, you can't not play him then. I just don't.
But you understand, people aren't saying take him off the field. There's a way they both can be on the field.
Well, it doesn't look like there is.
Well, to Kyle. Okay. But I bet if you ask
then
McVay
hold
to do
that
it
against
Andy
Kyle
Reid, they would
do something about it.
I don't have the power to do it.
No,
I'm complaining, and I'm not the only one.
No, but you can blame Kyle. He's had a bad year. Players have had a worse year as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not disputing
They just have. And I don't know why, again, like what sometimes is frustrating to me is that we all saw how the season started. And at that time, we all said, I don't like the way this is starting off. I don't like the optics with Ayuk. I hate the optics with Trent Williams. I don't like that Christian McCaffrey got broken off money and he misses the first 8 games of the year. And we knew that may set a tone, and it absolutely did. So when we look back, we can be upset, but why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? We didn't like what was going on before they played one game, and we knew it. We all knew it.
But you knew it more than me.
We knew it.
The old adage in sports is you don't speak on the next man trying to get more money. So we saw it with Deebo.
Maybe you don't speak on it, but you live with it. You have to live with those feelings.
But I'm going to still perform or try to perform at my best, Steiny. I'm not going to.
What's going on with Deebo?
I'm going to tell you. You asked me a question? Give me a second. So this is why I'm at the doorstep of Kyle and on his neck. The Super Bowl, the Niners offense was a no-show. The playoffs, the Niners offense was a no-show. Now, I was blaming the players, but now I'm starting to feel like that was a Shanahan problem then, and we kind of just buried our head in the sand. You say what to that?
They're 8-9 since they lost to Baltimore. That's a full season. They're 8-9 since they lost to Baltimore.
But now we're questioning Deebo. We're questioning McCaffrey.
Yeah,
the dude's not out there in a cast like he's running. There's nowhere to run. So my question, and I know you don't have the answer.
But Mason's going to be the difference then? That's the thing.
He led the league in rushing and was a bull in the china shop.
All right.
I wasn't saying he's perfect. How does that just go away? How does that dissipate? How do you just say, okay, I'm going to act like that didn't mean anything? How can you not add that to the menu? You're helping Green Bay out and other teams by not using him. Thunder and lightning. Lightning and thunder.
They don't. That's not the way they play.
That's the key. Can't coach it that way.
Okay. Well, then, do you want somebody who can?
I don't know yet.
Well,
but the answer right now is no. But if you're not going to look yourself in the mirror, Steiny, at any point, then you're not going to change.
Maybe he can't change. He doesn't know how to devise plays like that.
They scored 7 points in 2 halves and 2 home playoff games against downtrodden teams, the teams they were supposed to beat, and they were a no-show in the Super Bowl.
Well, and so why did we think that they were going to turn it around this year? Why? Like, seriously, if Steve Young is saying this team has been completely different since the Christmas game against Baltimore, then why did we think they were going to come out guns blazing and be 8-3?
Oh, man, I don't have the answer, Sway.
Well, I do. I do. They've gotten older. The mental fatigue of having gotten there and not winning it has taken its toll. Now they're not playing as hard as they used to play. They think they're playing hard, but they're not really playing hard. All their veteran players have slipped, with the exception of maybe Kittle. And now you're 5-6.
Wow. How do you coach mental fatigue? Do you swap them out, or do you just say this was the gap year?
Comes with it. Well,
I'm just asking.
To me, a gap year would be you bring back the same team. And this would be the vintage, to me, vintage. That would be insanity.
Well, this whole line
bringing
needs
back
help.
this team.
This whole line needs help. This whole line needs help.
We're actually an 8-3 team.
Well, both your lines need help. I know you got Hargrave coming back.
You're not going to win that. If we all acknowledge right now their offensive line and defensive line is subpar, substandard, and in the bottom of the league, then maybe they're not underachieving.
Do you believe that's why McCaffrey hasn't mirrored old McCaffrey?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. People act like he's out there
like Isaiah Thomas in the finals against the Lakers limping. There's nowhere for him to run.
Well, to me, if there's nowhere for McCaffrey to run, there's not going to be anywhere for Mason to run.
But when you see it, Steiny, and they pitch it to him and he takes off, there's a different element to it. They're two different style backs.
You know, it's that kind of, to me, it's like if McCaffrey's your Steph Curry, you have to keep playing him and hope that he breaks one or comes around. You know, Steph Curry has a lot of games where he doesn't play well for 3 quarters and then he wins the game for him. And they think McCaffrey's a game breaker, so they're gonna keep him there. You got to be
close. You can't be down 17-0.
Let's go to Robin. Robin's in San Francisco. What's going on, Robin? How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Hey, Steiny, I have a question. There was the backup left tackle, backup quarterback. Who was the third backup out there?
Dobbs.
Okay. Now, here's what I want to say. It's more.
Go ahead.
Actually, more of my way. I totally agree with you, Steiner. You know, I'm only called in because I'm so sick of the whining, the pointing the fingers. Even when they win, Niner fans still whine. It is nerve-wracking. The quarterback yesterday, regardless, wasn't the sole reason we lost that game, and the other quarterback everybody's crying for damn sure wasn't going to help us win the game. I'm not pointing no fingers at Shanahan, but as a head coach, his job is to manage, and the team doesn't seem to be managing well because of the lack of discipline that they're showing. Even the vets, you guys go too far. You take it as he's lost a team, he's lost that. I do believe it's mental stress, and I don't care what anybody says. Injuries do make a difference, regardless to who else is injured in the league. I'm going to leave you with this, what Isaiah Thomas said. He said, when a star player, which the Niners have many, go down, you say to yourself, yes, as long as it's not a life-threatening injury. You know why? Because it lessens their chances of winning, and it gives the other team more chances to win. And that is the bottom line. I hate that cliche that, well, everybody else is hurt. Well, some are diminished. Some are just torn apart. And that's been the Niners from day one.
Robin, before you go, the Robin I know, just real quick here, because we keep it real, 10-2. I'm shocked you haven't brought this up. The Robin I know would call out a player that had the audacity to put his hands and embarrass his teammate and then go out there and play like garbage and not talk to the media. Where does that rank on the Robin scale?
That was a love tap. And so you're going to blame one game. So there's enough fingers to be pointed at everybody. You understand? The team lacks discipline. And I'll tell you the real truth why they lost the Super Bowl. That offensive line, in particular, that right side. Where you going to run if there's no coach?
Well, we lost.
Robin,
she was defending Deebo. I'm Steiny, you're a captain. You can't dip out, man.
That's what players do nowadays. That's what this young generation does. Seriously.
Fred Warner doesn't do it. Bosa even speak to you.
Fred Warner's a grown-up.
Yeah, Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy's a grown-up. 888-957-9570 is the number. Anybody got any solutions out there? I mean, we can vent.
Well, who's available?
We can vent all day.
You and I and Evan, nobody knows who's playing this Sunday against Buffalo, right?
Okay.
It starts there.
All right.
But you got to coach and you got to play better.
Yeah. They're not as good as Buffalo. Okay. And
all right.
They're mentally fatigued. Buffalo's surging. Yeah, it's going to be a really hard game on Sunday.
I've been holding on to something.
You're not better than anybody like you were in the past. You have to play.
When do you notice that? When do you accept that?
Right now.
Because it's not disappointing if that weren't the case. You are better. You've been better.
Right, but that was last year. So, again, what do you believe? Do you believe this team's the team that was 11-4 before the Baltimore game? Because it's been 17 games. And I know it's a cheap shot because that last game of the year, they didn't play all their starters, but they're 8-9 in the last 17 games. It's doesn't just extend to the beginning of this year. It extends into last season. The Super Bowl played a big part of it. And then, you know what? They had an off season where guys wanted their money. And they got it. And you can't tell me that doesn't impact the locker room.
Okay.
I don't care if people comment on it or don't comment on it.
Right.
But hey, I get it. Trent Williams is terrific. Great player. Great player. Don't tell me that him holding out didn't affect this season. Brandon Ayuk was talking about getting paid 5 minutes after the Super Bowl.
Right.
Their priorities right now are misplaced.
So
they're not playing like a team. They're not hungry. They're not edgy. And I'm going to blame it on fatigue mentally and good old-fashioned father time.
All right.
And Kyle Shanahan hasn't pushed the right buttons. This thing is comprehensive as far as I'm concerned.
Nah, and you've been consistent since the offseason that you didn't like how it looks. And it's your prerogative in your mind, and you can feel how you feel, Steiny. I feel differently because I just felt like, when you're going up for a contract or somebody else, that's your business. I still need to be the best goo I can be. But I'm wondering why that Robin call, why I'm running hot. And the reason I'm running hot is because you talk about the impact on the locker room. And you can feel how you feel, and I think it's valid about this stuff in the offseason. But you can't tell me when Kyle stepped to the podium, I'm not letting this go, and said that Pepper overreacted and basically sided and gave Deebo the license to put his hands on a player. You can't tell me, Steiny, because if I had a uniform in that locker room, I don't care if it's the lone snapper, and I saw my coach go up there and basically call me out and say I was the one wrong, the victim. You can't tell me that's not perpetrating in that, all in that locker room that people are like, oh, really? So if we can go there and you can hold on to how the locker room was impacted with the contract, I can damn sure stand up and say, I don't think Kyle handled that right, saying Pepper overreacted and basically Deebo had a license to do what he did. And then Deebo plays like garbage and then leaves and he's a captain and supposed to be a role model. All that stuff is lumped into me.
Bottom line is when Deebo Samuel did his thing, they were 500. Like, there has been no turning point. There's been no pivotal moment. They haven't played well and then all of a sudden not played well. They've played the same way all year long.
But it was a sign of frustration.
Yeah, of course it was.
And it's not getting better. No. And now you dipped out and didn't even talk to the media. But do you?
I mean, we can run down the list and just start hammering guys.
I'm not hammering them.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
I want to hear him talk after the game.
Why? He's going to say, we still have time. We can get it. We can figure it out.
I want to ask about your game. What's happened to you?
All had too much velocity on it.
He might have a few answers that don't have anything to do with him.
Okay, so he should throw people under the bus?
I don't know.
Well, that wouldn't help anybody, I don't think.
He wouldn't catch it.
But the reality of the situation is, to me, the Deebo situation. Okay, well, they weren't winning before that, and they were not winning after it. Well, what about Bosa being out and Trent Williams being out? Well, they weren't winning with those guys playing. You can't point to any moment in the season, I don't feel, and say, boy, everything changed then. No, that's the problem with this season is nothing has changed.
Well, you said it changed in the offs coming into the season.
Exactly. And maybe it changed on Christmas. I don't know. Let's go to Tony in Oakland. What's going on, Tony? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Hey, so I'm a long time 49er fan. Matter of fact, when I was 17, I watched the catch. So my thing is, I've been watching preseason this season, and I saw Dobbs, and I was like, yo, that is our backup. I ain't seen nothing that Allen dude did, nothing on the field, period. So my point is, I think Kyle plays favorites because you see how Jordan Mason was running and it's like McCaffrey comes, he just shut down. Like, why is Kyle making those type of decisions in moments of as critical as a moment as this is in the season? He just makes decisions. If you watch football, okay, if you watch football play, there's no way that Allen outplayed Dobbs this season. I'm sorry. That's all I got, fellas.
Yeah, we have no idea because Allen and Dobbs have not played. So Kyle made a decision based on how they practice. And maybe he's made the wrong decision. Maybe Dobbs should have been playing.
And probably would have did no better, but he don't have a broken digit on his
and that's the thing. And maybe we should do that. But, every Monday when we come in here and they lose, it's never one thing. And that's why I don't think they're a very good team. I don't think Dobbs wins that game yesterday. Does he make it closer?
This is their first blowout
Maybe.
of the season, Steiny.
I don't think if Jordan Mason runs more, they win that game. They may have been better, but...
Well, who's to say if Deebo's 87-yard run back to start the second half?
And if that's the way you want it,
we got a ball game.
Well, then bring back the same team, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully you'll start getting breaks. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
You're asking two different questions, and I know it's.
When are you going to acknowledge that this team's not very good? That's my first question. Why do we all think this team is a 13-4 team when they haven't shown you they're a 13-4 team for the last 17 games, including last year, and the first 11 this year?
You get the benefit of the doubt.
For 17 games.
No, for 5 years. For 5 years and 4 straight trips.
But they're 8-9 over the last 17.
Right,
and you still think that they're a Super Bowl contender.
No, I didn't. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I'm perplexed where they're at right now, 5-6.
Well, I can tell you a million reasons why.
They've gotten old. From other season.
They've gotten old. Their big players have played 12 playoff games in the last 5 years.
And their coaching has gotten worse.
Sure.
Questionable.
Okay.
But that's the more important in the age to me.
Well, then do something. If you think the coach is the problem, then they have to make a move. I don't necessarily think the coach is this big a problem. I don't think they have their priorities in order as players.
So you have no problem not seeing Mason. I mean, seriously, I'm not. You got to have a problem with it.
This is the same issue we talked to Steve Kerr about. If you don't want Steve Kerr to lean on veterans, then you need a new coach because that's who he is. If you don't want Kyle Shanahan to utilize what he thinks is the best running back in football as much as possible, and he needs to split time with Mason, I think then it's fair you need another coach because that's who he is. And that's what has been successful for Shanahan for 7 or 8 years. And I don't think it's as easy as, well, switch it, change it. It's like, it's like asking Jim Boeheim, hey, you know what? We're having a bad year. Let's not play that zone that's been a staple of our defense for 25 years. It's like, go ahead and get another coach in here. Get Dan Campbell in here. He likes to utilize 2 backs. But again, I just think it's so much more than who we used at backup quarterback, how many times McCaffrey runs. The defense has not. It's been comprehensive again. The defense has not gotten one big stop, it feels like, all year long. The offense has not had one big score, it feels like, all year long.
Well, they stopped Tampa Bay for you to win that game.
All right. Well,
I know it's not a lot, but, so where's Lynch in all this then? If they've gotten old overnight, what's realistic? What can you do? Who do you do?
Well, you know what? And here's the other thing.
Win.
But again.
Because you got 6 games left.
During the summer, just acknowledge that during the summer, a lot of people out there were like, oh, you got to just pay Ayuk. You got to just pay Trent. You got to just pay McCaffrey. Well, that impacts your depth. And then you pay these 3 guys, and all of them are subpar. They've all been subpar. So you've not only paid 3 big boys big money, they're not producing, and then your team doesn't have enough depth to withstand injuries, even though Again, your big boys, for the most part, outside of McCaffrey, have been there. Purdy's been healthy. Kittle's been healthy. Jennings has been healthy. Juszczyk's been healthy. Bosa's been healthy. Warner's been healthy. Banks, Brendel, Jair Brown, Lenore, McKivitz, Pooney. They haven't missed a game, those 6. Trent Williams, he's been healthy. Malik Collins, Burford, healthy. It's like Deebo Samuel, healthy. Yes, McCaffrey's been hurt. And if you want to blame it on injuries, you can blame it on injuries. I think it's far deeper and more comprehensive than that. I think they've had plenty of quality players who have been healthy, who should have this team playing with more wins under their belt. That's just me. That's just me. I'm looking at the money makers on the team. And outside of McCaffrey, and even Brandon Ayuk, 7 games he played to start the season. He was not very good. And you know what? I blame him and I blame Lynch and Shanahan because they let it get to the point where it ended up getting to. And I think the chickens are coming home to roost. Kyle Shanahan received a multi-year contract extension right before the start of last year. Oh. So Shanahan and Lynch under contract through 2027. 2027. That's this year, and then next year, and then next year, and then next year. So he's got almost 3.5 years left, both of them. Just some info for people.
And they're probably most likely going to finish it out, right? And
I wouldn't say that.
And we don't even know what this season's going to culminate in. But with all the bad, Steiny, I got to just point this guy back out, man. George Kittle, that catch in the end zone. Dude's in the zone right now, and One guy can't win a game. I didn't say it. I'm just giving him his flowers. He's getting older, and it seems like he's getting better, man. Catching the rock. You could count on him, man.
Let's go to Bob. Bob's in the city. What's going on, Bob? How you doing, man?
Hey, it's going on. It's going pretty good, guys. I love the show as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, you asked about solutions.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I got 3 quick things. But first, the solution is obviously I would have these dudes hitting every day this week when they get back, tackling. Because it seemed like they didn't want to, they didn't want to get hit. They didn't want to hit nobody. So I mean, it's just like the other caller said, it's the eye test, right? And he made a valid point, I thought, again, for Dobbs and a running back. So it was like, wow, I don't know why would they put the other guy, Allen, in? I mean, he looked okay, but with a broken finger, and plus Dobbs' legs could probably hurt the other team because he can scramble, he can run. I mean, I remember he had a really good game against us when he was with Arizona. So I don't know. Oh, and then to get to Guru's point, Steve Kerr did the same thing with Draymond Green when he punched what's his name. It's like he made excuses for him. He didn't come out right away and say anything. So I think head coaches cover their star players. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
No, thank you, Bob. Appreciate the call.
I mean, season high, 3 turnovers, missed tackles, Steiny, and I just don't remember a Niner team missing that many tackles that early on in the ball game. And Jordan Love, Steiny, was only 13 of 23 for 163 yards. Could have been more. Dude dropped a wide open touchdown. Who was that?
Watson.
Watson. I mean, man, that ball was right there. But, man, you telling me you down 10 at half, 14 at half? No, 10 at half. Deebo gets that run, and that is called back. But that's just like the microcosm of the year. So you're asking me for solutions. I don't know, Steiny, because I don't even know who's going to be on the field Sunday night against Buffalo. And when do you get to a juncture as an organization? I'm not saying they're not. Kyle doesn't strike me as the type of guy, i.e. Christian McCaffrey, that he's going to, Bosa, we'll shut you down for next year. But, I mean, if this thing gets out of hand and the more losses you pick up, but they just don't seem button up, coaching and the play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the issue is if you think you're in a Super Bowl window, which they thought they were before the year, otherwise they wouldn't have caved in to Ayuk and Trent Williams and McCaffrey, then you got to ride it to the hilt. And for everybody that's saying, well, let's get Mason in there for McCaffrey, I can't imagine that happening until the 49ers are essentially eliminated from the postseason. And that's the problem. When you have veterans that you think can get it done, now you just can't sub in the young players when you're 5-6. You have to let this team fail on its own with the veterans that you paid and the veterans who have been carrying you for so long. Well, I don't see. I mean, hell, they're using 6 of the guys who they drafted this past year as rookies, so they're already playing a fair amount. And by the way, that may be an issue as to why they're not better than 5-6 is because their young guys used to not be able to get onto the field. Now their young guys are playing. And while they're all having nice little rookie years, there's a difference between having a nice rookie year and being a championship-type team.
Well, look at Pooney. He's had one. He had 3 penalties yesterday. He had 1 on the season coming into that game. Nobody's going to sit here and say he's not been better than Trent Williams. He's been more reliable than Trent this season. So when you talk about the youth aspect of it, Steiny, I mean, they are making contributions, but it sounds like you've been saying you got problems with the guys that got paid that have not even come close to hitting their target in regard to production.
Well, what I'm saying is if Dominic Pooney's let's say he's having a good rookie year. I said it. Okay, he's having a good rookie year. For a rookie, he's having a good year. But he's lined up on the offensive line, and they, as a group, have not been good. Now, I'm not saying it's Pooney, but he's part of it, and so's Trent Williams, and so are all the other guys.
But you can go down the line and see who's playing. The numbers will tell you who's playing better and who's not. A guy that came into what?
But do you understand, like, if you're a rookie having a good year, you're having a good year for a rookie.
Oh,
it doesn't mean you're an all-pro.
No. Well, we don't know if he's not going to be an all-pro. We can't rob him of that. And some rookie.
Why would he be an all-pro on a team that's 5-6 and can't block anybody?
It's not a team award. It's about people can hone in on you doing your individual job.
Okay, so
that's all.
So Pooney's been among the best linemen in all of football?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying don't lump him in with Trent Williams.
It's like Brandon Pajemski. He had a really, really good year for a rookie last year. It doesn't mean he was an all-pro or an all-star. And I don't want to pick on Pooney, but I'm sure he's going to be a lot better in 3 or 4 years than he is now.
No doubt about it. Who's to say he's not on his way to
let's go to Leroy. Leroy's in Oakland.
Oh,
What's up, Leroy? How you doing?
What's up, Steiny? What's up, Goo? How y'all feeling?
Better than your team, man.
Oh, man. You know, when we spoke last week, I knew it was going to be brutal. And y'all remember last week, I was like, I don't have any hope. But here's the thing. And this is a bad thing. Our division is allowing me as a 49er fan to have hope. And that's a shame, man. And that's a shame because I really do think that, and you guys know, I think that dysfunction has set in with this team a long time ago. And I think the players were, character enough guys to not want to throw Kyle Shanahan under the bus and say anything bad about him. But I think, he lost the team along with all those losses he's had in big games. You know what I mean? Going back to the Atlanta days when he was offensive coordinator and lost the Super Bowl to New England. I think the players are like, we trying to do it your way. We trying. And we're coming up short. And you see the players losing focus, man. That's a sign of internal dysfunction among the players when you have all those penalties. And a lot of these guys are Deebo, and these are veterans on the offensive line that are having all these penalties. And it's a lack of focus, like they're tuning Kyle out. Because I know they practice hard, but the lack of focus, it's so unprofessional, all these penalties. And to me, it's just a sign of dysfunction. They're tuning Kyle Shanahan out silently. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan knows it because, again, we got character guys as players where they don't want to talk bad about them to the media or throwing them under the bus. But I think it's setting in where, because the lack of focus and then losing all those leads that they lose in the fourth quarter, sure sign of dysfunction, and I hate it. But we're still in this thing, in last place, but one game out of first. This is incredible, man.
Yeah, with 6 left, Leroy. I mean, what do you want as a fan? You want a chance, right? You want a chance? I'd take it. You ain't got to apologize for getting in.
But again, like the question I have is, give me one or two things that you've seen through either 11 games or the last 17 games that lead you to believe that a switch will be flipped.
Nothing. But who told me Friday, Sonny? Hope's not a strategy. But if you're telling me I get another last chance at that finally manifesting, who wouldn't take it?
Of course you take it, but I don't know that you can count on it right now.
Do you think they tuned him out? Why would they tune him out? Unless they don't believe.
This season has been agenda city from the start. Just like the Warriors.
But they all won and got their way.
They didn't win and they got their way.
Well, I'm talking about the individual negotiations.
Like champions before they won a championship. They were paid like they won the Super Bowl, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. How can you, think about this. You don't win the Super Bowl,
you get
but you get rewarded.
Well,
now, I'm sorry. It's going to make the next trip to the Super Bowl harder.
But when you look at Brandon Ayuk and where his career was going and the year he had last year up into the Super Bowl.
Right, and he got paid, and he was a shell. Like, I'm not, okay, he got hurt.
But you wouldn't have held on to that money.
For 7 weeks.
I'm with.
Okay.
But now
so the guy
he's been gone, and the offense still stinks.
The offense stunk with him.
Okay, but is there a bigger thing going on why there's an odor? Because he can't be blamed.
Yes, he can be blamed. Brandon Ayuk absolutely can be blamed.
No, Steiny, stop.
Oh, so
now McCaffrey.
Brandon Ayuk does not.
Okay, let's talk McCaffrey now.
He can be blamed.
Is he all dried up? Is he done? Is he old?
Maybe.
Or is there something going on with the offense as a whole to where everybody's looking dysfunctional?
If you want to say that Brandon Ayuk was not a part of this lost season, then you can
saying that.
Okay.
I see how you ran from the McCaffrey question.
He's been terrible. What do you want me to say? I've said it a million times. I don't know why it doesn't register. Their big boys have not played well. If you want to blame that on Shanahan, you can. I'm just saying, since when does Trent Williams need to be motivated? Or since when does Trent Williams need to be coached a certain way?
Well, that's fair.
Since when does Christian McCaffrey need to be motivated, need to be coached a certain way? I'm just saying. I look at their it's like you can't win if your supposed best players are all having bad years.
And then the guy that becomes one of your best players can't get on the field. That makes no sense.
All right.
But I'm not telling you.
Then, you know what?
You understand, Steiny, it's not NBA. If you got a center, you can't play a center at guard. You can figure out a way, especially when you're supposed to be one of the brilliant minds in this game. And you know how you floored me? You just brought up Detroit. They're running back you. That coach is figuring out Ben Johnson a way to use all the talent in the world. Why is it all just come down to either or? And now the secret's out. Like your offense needs a jump. And you got to jump.
What happened
but
to
he's
the
on
weaponry?
the sideline.
What happened to all the weaponry?
Well,
I thought this was a team with more weapons than any team in football.
I'm starting to question the cook.
Well, I mean,
I'm starting to question the cook.
You know, it's
yeah.
Okay.
George Kittle on line one. People told me he was average.
You know what?
And he's been the best thing going.
Everybody keep just throwing out, the best roster in football. And nobody questions it. Like, nobody questions it.
There was no reason to
Fred
not
Warner
question
been the
it,
last
Steiny.
4 weeks?
People are going to hate me. The dude is hurt, and he's not saying anything.
Okay, well, then just
he's
say.
He's the least of my problem.
Then say, let's just chalk this season up to injury.
That's not how it works.
Well, I know it's not how it works. But if you truly believe that, then you believe that next year you bring back everybody and they should be fine. But I don't think people believe that. Let's go to J-Dog in Boston.
Oh, boy.
What's up, J-Dog?
What's up, guys? Long time. Thanks for taking my call, man. I mean, I'm not starting your safe. Relax. I'm not even going to try to convince you. I know you got the bad case of the Shanahan virus, and it's almost like I could get a Halloween mask and steal your car as long as I got a Kyle Shanahan costume, and you'd probably look the other way. So I'm not even gonna try that. But I just want to say, like, with not playing Mason, not putting your best players on the field, and Devontae Campbell still on the field, and the defensive coordinator and the special teams coordinator, and like, what is it gonna take for you and these Kyle Shanahan supporters in the media, the Bay Area media, with the lollipop questions? If Kyle Shanahan was in Boston, he would be barbecued. Like, what's going on with the accountability out there? And now it's getting weird with the people like you, Steiny, that defend Kyle Shanahan. And it's like, what is it going to take for you to really even consider moving on? You won't put your best players on the field. Yes. What you really have to understand is, what I don't know if I heard or not, or anybody saying is, Kyle Shanahan can't coach if he doesn't have an all-star team. So this is the time when you got aging players when you really need to coach. And when you got a guy like Isaac Garendo and a guy like Mason that are not getting any time at all, like, how are you supposed to improve your? Where's the development at?
I thought McCaffrey was the best running back in football.
Well, guys get old. Guys take a step back.
Okay.
That's part of the game. That's part of life. You know what I mean?
So,
I'm not the same J-Dog I was in 25. Big Shirley will tell you that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You got to hold them accountable. And I just want to call you, and I'm glad to hear from you guys because it's been a little while. But I just want to say, man, some of the responsibilities got to go on the Bay Area media that's serving Shanahan these softball questions, and you're lucky you're not in Boston, Massachusetts, because you would be barbecued. And Deebo Samuel, that's Bush League. You'd be barbecued as well. Thanks for taking my call. I love you guys, man.
I mean, the bottom line is, for 8 games they played without McCaffrey, and during those 2 months, everybody said, well, maybe when McCaffrey gets back, things will turn around. So McCaffrey comes back, and they use him like they've used him, and things haven't turned around, and maybe now they'll do something different. I don't know. How many games, I mean, were you going to bring McCaffrey back and only use him half the time? I guess that could have been a solution. But again, I'm just what I see, the difference between this team and a winning team isn't spreading carries out to Mason and McCaffrey more. I mean, it might help, maybe. I'm not saying it won't, but to me,
well, you scored 10 points yesterday, and your offense has been impotent before McCaffrey and since McCaffrey's come back.
Well,
and now you got people questioning Steiny, is McCaffrey finished, or does he need to? There's nowhere to run. I don't know how you could say he doesn't look the same. Maybe a step, a little bit slower, but you think Kyle's running him out there if he thought that he wasn't the same?
And the bottom line is, had they used Mason, let's say half the time or whatever, and they go 1-2 since he's come back, which they would have, because I don't believe that any substitution or any amount of Mason carries. So now they're 1-2, and Mason's still involved. Let me tell you what people would be saying. How come we waited 8 weeks for Christian McCaffrey to come back, and now we don't use him like we're using him in the past?
Well, you're getting that now with Mason. And especially on top of the fact that you're losing these games.
So the bottom line is, you have a player that touches the ball 25 times a game.
Well, he touched it 14 yesterday.
And okay, so what's the problem?
No, I'm wondering where are the other 11?
Well, when you get down 17-0, you can't run 30 times. And again, let me reiterate that.
Let me reiterate that. I don't believe it's the players.
If they would have kept, you don't believe it's the players.
No, they take some ownership, but I believe
that's fine.
That all of a sudden.
Well, then don't go halfway. And
what's halfway?
Halfway is just absolutely lambasting Kyle, but then saying, but we shouldn't do anything. He's fine. I mean, if you really think Kyle Shanahan's the problem, like J-Dog in Boston, then get rid of him.
We don't know where this is going.
I'm talking about the end of the year. Right. I think we know where it's going, don't we? I think we know where it's going.
No, you never know with sports, man.
The reality is that if McCaffrey would have come back and they kept Mason involved and they won 1 out of the 3 games where McCaffrey's back, we would all be complaining that McCaffrey isn't being used like he normally is being used, and why not? If he's healthy, he's got to play. I don't know. I think the problems are bigger than Mason needs 8 to 10 carries a game. I think that, again, the problems to me are comprehensive. The line is not very good. The defensive line is not very good.
Well, fact.
What's their best position group?
Receiver.
Okay, so it's receiver, and you don't have Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel's had a terrible year. And Ricky Pearsall hasn't caught a ball in 3 weeks. But that's your strength. So I don't know what to tell you. I can just go by what's going on the field, and they're a 5-6 team. And if you want to make a change, the change probably has to be Kyle Shanahan. It does. I mean, I'm not saying don't fire him. I'm just saying what if you really think he's the problem, then you got to move on. Let's go to Will in the East Bay. What's going on, Will? How you doing?
I'm doing well today, Steiny. How are you and Guru doing?
Hey, doing well.
Hanging in there, man.
Yeah, you guys, you sound good. Always cool to talk to you. I'm going to try to make this point as well as I can. And I'm going to date myself now, okay? There used to be a time in football and baseball where you had players who were very well paid, but they had a hunger. And the reason they had a hunger, because they didn't have these huge guaranteed contracts with a lot of, like I said, the money guaranteed. These guys were playing with a certain hunger to achieve, but it was also a hunger to keep their job next year. And let me just state, I think all these players are worth as much as they can get from ownership. I believe 100% in full enterprise. But when you got a guy hanging around camp who is trying to get an extension, but he's not practicing with the team, and then you got another prominent player who's holding out, the rest of the team sees this. And then the ownership capitulates. They get their money, they get their big bag, and more important, they get the guaranteed contract. So as good as they are, and they've been in the past, they're very comfortable. And my problem is the rest of the team sees this, and this kind of comfort can breed complacency. And I wouldn't bring this up, except it seems like all of their weak spots, all the penalties, the turnovers, the just lack of effort, it's across the board. And I can't help think that maybe it's a much bigger problem, okay? There were players in the past like Brady, and you got a guy playing over there in Kansas City, the best quarterback on the planet. He's not making the most money. He doesn't have the most. But this guy, he's playing to win. He's playing for more Lombardis. He's playing for his legacy and the team's legacy. And it seems now that the money is getting centralized to a few different players. Fine, they're happy. Well, one of those guys is out for the season. The other one's injured right now. And it seems like a team whose big stars are not there, and there's a certain complacency that exists over the rest of this team. I know I'll think of something else later after we're off the line, but I can't help but think that.
Appreciate the call. And maybe, you know what? Maybe it's as simple as this. McCaffrey has been a workhorse for the Niners. We've known that. And then he gets hurt. And he misses 8 games. And so maybe you got to put him back in there to try to be a workhorse for 2 or 3 games. And now maybe Kyle says, you know what? McCaffrey's not really McCaffrey anymore. And now we'll give Mason more of a shot. But I don't think it's too late. I don't think McCaffrey's played 3 games since he's come back. You really think that you're going to allow McCaffrey to play 1 or 2 games, try to get back in his groove and take him off the field that quickly? Yeah, you had to try to give him a chance to be a big part of why this thing would turn around, and he hasn't been able to help.
So you mismanaged the staff, you mismanaged the roster, and lastly, the offense. This offense, this prolific offense, in a world where the Detroit Lions are running up scoreboards, running a ton of trick plays, in a world where offenses are changing protections, in a world where quarterbacks and players are being protected, this offense looks stagnant. Kyle Shanahan has mismanaged the staff. That's abundantly clear. I believe he has mismanaged the roster. I believe he's mismanaged the offense. This is the most disappointing season, considering expectations, of the Kyle Shanahan era.
That was Manuel Acho from the facility. Evan, he's feels like he's kind of agreeing with what you said about maybe it's just this team's run its course. It happens.
No, I didn't say the team ran its course. I said it was the lowest point of the contention era
that's what I meant.
for Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. You
said it was run its course.
That's true. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Evan's like, don't try to put that jacket on me.
Is it the lowest point of the Kyle Shanahan era?
It's the most I've questioned them. And I get their injuries, and I was just like, maybe this is not the year, and I get the, how do you term it? The residue of success, but I'm just, man. The fact Jordan Mason is exhibit A on why I'm at his door. I just don't get it. And Steiny, I know it's not one or the other. You get so many certain amount of plays in a football game, and you damn near control that. But to watch Mason lead the league, break tackles, lead the league in broken tackles, and everybody give him his flowers. Nobody's saying don't give McCaffrey any touches, but, man, you got to get in the lab, especially now with these injuries, and trick something up to where they can both be on the field to help your impotent offense, because that's what it is right now.
Yeah, it actually makes sense to me. When you get down 17-0, why would you bring in a running back who is not multidimensional? Like, you're not, if you're down 17-0, I don't think you're going to be able to run. I
don't even buy the malarkey of Steiny. The game starts 0-0. They were doing nothing. Romeo Dobbs and our guy.
Right. The defense is what put them in the hole.
Right, because the offense got the ball and couldn't do anything.
And that you'll see a lot with a backup quarterback playing with a broken finger.
What are you saying that for?
Because he fumbled.
That's an indictment on Kyle. How dare you say that? Just like,
well, I mean, you can blame Kyle.
Just think about that decision, how it sounds. Even if it were high school. How the hell you going to pick a dude with a broken finger on the non-throwing hand, and the Bay Area media didn't even get wind of it? Nobody even
they should have.
knew.
He was on the injury report.
Well, man,
he was on the injury report quiet. A couple weeks ago.
Again, Steiny, you can start the game with Mason in a formation. You can get creative. That's all we're asking for. And it feels like Kyle on that front is leaving some meat on the bone.
Maybe all you jokers who think you knew football and were calling him a genius before he ever did anything, maybe you should have waited on that.
Well, you're defending the Joker.
I'm defending
because the real Joker is
I'm defending
the
nobody.
Play caller.
Okay, so if you want to put 90% of it on Kyle's doorstep, you're entitled to do that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are putting 90% on Kyle's doorstep. I'm not.
And say what you want about yesterday's game. They were lucky it was still there, down 10 at halftime, getting the ball. And forget the Deebo, the punt return call, the kickoff return call back. Just like, how long are you guys going to stay stagnant? And you got McCaffrey out there. You got Deebo. You drafted a receiver in the first round because you said he had the goods, and your O-line just feels like it's decimated. I don't know how this team even got to the Super Bowl with this O-line last year. Like, make it make sense. It's on him to get Steiny.
They're older, man.
They just played in January in the Super Bowl.
Right. How did they play? How have they played since Christmas?
So Pearsall's not getting off because he's old?
Well, I don't blame.
He's not getting any targets because he's old?
Pearsall doesn't catch because of Kyle. I mean, is that what you're saying? I guess so.
No, I'm not saying
he's a rookie.
What's off of my metric is he's old.
Stop thinking this is a championship team when you're playing a rookie on the offensive line, a rookie at wide receiver, 2 rookies in the defensive backfield. This is a championship team. Rookies didn't get on the field for this team.
This season was Super Bowl or bust. Am I wrong? You can't move the goalpost. It's Super Bowl or bust. Fred Warner said it. George Kittle said it.
Okay, well, yeah, you can win with playing this many rookies. You can win a Super Bowl with this many rookies. I don't see it.
I'm not arguing that.
Well, why are rookies on the field this year when it was hard for rookies to get on the field the last 3 or 4 years?
Injuries.
Okay, well, then you're going to pay the price for that. You're going to pay the price for playing
But that still
rookies.
does not exonerate Kyle Shanahan.
Nobody's exonerating Shanahan.
A lot of people.
I know you want to do that. I said it's comprehensive. What part about comprehensive don't you understand?
This is not insurance. I'm not buying it.
Okay, well, you want to. Okay, then you picked Kyle Shanahan, and I pick everybody. I'm not, dude. Don't. No, dude.
Yeah, I know how you get down. Don't put me in no corner. I'm not saying.
I told you what I thought. Their big boy players aren't playing well. If you don't like that,
matters. Steiny and the coach is not coaching.
You're not going to do this.
Miss me
You're
with
not
that
going to do
malarkey.
this. You're not going to.
Evan had to get a new contract, so I'm just going to stink it up. Miss me with all that Disney stuff. It ain't put on a football pad in your life. Be a man and go out there and kick the dude's ass in front of you. You got this old fictitious movie thing like Walt Disney because I'm worried about my contract. That's why the Niners are not performing. They're getting their ass kicked, and their coach is not helping them. Miss me with this.
Okay. I don't understand.
In the off season, and he wanted more money, so all the other dudes got mad. Miss me. They're not playing.
Do you think chemistry matters?
Of course it matters.
Okay, well then maybe they're not together, like I've been saying.
So they're not together because what now again, Steiny? Because guys got paid, and the bosses decided to pay the guys.
It sounds like you're upset because you wanted these guys paid, and now it's falling apart.
No, I'm just upset that you keep going to that like it's not.
Well, and
guys got jobs to do. They're underperforming. And I'm just starting to wonder and put the pieces together, starting to just pose the question, how much does the coaching have to do with the team underperforming? Yeah. And that's why I just went to Ricky Pearsall, not saying he's Lynn Swan, had a couple good games, and all of a sudden he's been Claude Rains, the invisible man. Do you think the defense is taking him away?
Yes.
Or could there be the possibility that his coach is not dialing it up?
It's probably a lot of different things.
Okay.
It's probably a lot of different things. And I don't know when today you heard me say, boy, Kyle's doing a hell of a job.
No,
Kyle's part of the problem. Kyle's part of the problem.
But you keep
I've been saying that all day.
It started in the offseason.
Okay, that's what I believe.
Okay, that's all I'm stand on it. Okay. That's all. Why are you screaming?
Stand on it.
Because I just said that and I had to make you respond to that.
Maybe because you haven't heard me say it 5 times already today. Brandon Ayuk set a terrible tone. Trent Williams set a terrible tone.
That's weak.
Okay, it might be weak.
You got a coach. You got all-stars. You got all pros. That I don't think that's it.
They're not all pros this year. They're not all pros this year.
They're getting paid like it.
Well, then blame John Lynch. Then blame John Lynch for giving in to Trent Williams when Trent Williams has lost his fastball.
What was your option though, Steiny? You had none, and that's why the guys got paid.
Okay, well then you were damned if you did and damned if you didn't.
But now what?
Now you're 5-6. And you realize you have a team of so-called stars that everybody has said, oh, this team, the weaponry.
I was one of them.
Exactly. So maybe they're not as good as we thought.
Okay, there was a juncture that you thought George Kittle was just average. Can you admit to the masses that you might have been wrong on that? He is actually better than Kyle had been using him?
Maybe one of the reasons he's getting the ball as much as he has is because the other guys aren't doing their jobs like they have in the past. But if McCaffrey were doing his job like he has in the past, if Deebo were doing his job like they have in the past, and maybe if Ayuk resembled himself at all and were healthy, they might not have to go to George Kittle as much. They could utilize him more in the run game and have the kind of weapon that they had in the last year or two with Christian McCaffrey. But I'm not going to blame Kyle. I'm going to blame Kyle for his responsibility because he's the coach of the team. But I'm not blaming Kyle because they signed 3 of their cog guys and they've all stunk. Like I can't blame Kyle on that.
That's a fact.
All of a sudden now Christian McCaffrey needs to be coached a different way by Kyle.
But we can do a case study on number 1, formerly 10. What?
Okay, and I don't blame the coach for Deebo Samuel not having a good year. Okay. No, I don't. I don't. I don't believe Deebo Samuel is the same player. I don't see Christian McCaffrey being the same player. That's just me. Let's go to Antonio in Oakland. What's going on, Antonio? How you doing, man?
Not the best. Me personally, man, Kyle Shanahan does deserve some of the blame as far as, not drafting Mahomes and not drafting offensive linemen early in the last couple of years, but at the end of the day, man, we're a couple plays away from winning those 3 division games. That hurt us. The pass rush got to get home. The pass rush deserves the blame because those division games came down to the pass rush, man. You got to put the quarterback on his back. But anyway, man, I'll say I'd give Kyle Shanahan 35% of the blame, though. It's just injuries too, man. At the end of the day, your stars aren't playing up to par. You're not going to win. And, they start off with bad character, man. For real, I can't stand this. But at the end of the day, our division is so bad, we still got a chance. It's not over to the fat lady thing, Steiny.
Yeah, it's over.
It's not.
Okay, well, then.
I mean, from that vantage point, come on.
Okay, you know what? Then calm down. It's not over.
I am calm.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh.
No, you're not.
I am so calm.
Yeah.
I just hate when you say stuff, you just take it to the bank like it's just matter of fact.
Well, you think it's possible to
do it in a
Kyle
different way.
Shanahan. No. I told you, I've been saying this about the way the offseason started.
It's everybody.
Okay, well then what are you mad? Why are you disagreeing with me?
Because I used Pearsall as an example. I used him as an example.
Maybe Pearsall's a rookie.
He is a rookie.
Right. So maybe rookies, what do we know about rookies? They're usually not as consistent as veterans.
Right. I totally get that. But I'm telling you, the way that this has been butchered with Mason and McCaffrey, now that Pearsall all of a sudden has been rendered ineffective to where he can't even get a target, I just scratch my head and say, I wonder if it's the defense. I wonder if it's Ricky. Well, I don't know. I wonder if it's the coach.
Why can't you see it's a million things, Goo? It's a million things. But if you want to lay it at the doorstep of one guy,
it's only because he's the offensive coordinator.
Okay, and how many points did the defense give up yesterday?
The most they have in a long time.
So the 49ers, what, they would have had to score 39?
First time a guy got 100 yards in a million years, Steiny. It was bad, but they still were within 10 points at halftime. That defense, I get it.
So what are you saying? They were in the game or they weren't?
They were in the game, but the offense can do anything.
Well, then a pretty good effort then. With a backup quarterback.
With a broken finger on the other non-throwing hand.